Hello everybody. Welcome and thank you very much for coming to the first SILC Talks, which as we promised is going to be much better than TED Talks. So I think your teachers have probably told you, and you've seen the slides in your class created by Leanne, that the aim of our talks, the aim of the SILC Talks is to improve your global competence. That means we want to offer you the opportunity to learn more about the world and how to communicate and work effectively and interact across cultures, especially considering that many of you will be going after SILC to work in global companies, and will need to not only use English but will need to be globally competent, which means you'll need to be able to communicate and interact effectively with different cultures in your work life and also in your personal life. So with that aim in mind, today we begin our very first SILC Talk. And the very first one today, as you know, is by Antonio, one of our teachers here, and Leanne, my co-organizer this talk. So thank you again.
What a great turnout. It's very exciting. Thank you for coming. I'm so pleased to introduce Antonio Graceffo, who is our first SILC Talks speaker. Antonio is a native of New York City. He is the author of 7 books. He is a championship cage fighter. He has filmed documentaries and has his own show on YouTube called Martial Arts Odyssey. And we are fortunate now to have him here as a teacher at SILC. So please welcome Antonio Graceffo.
How are you today?
Fine.
Okay. I'm Antonio. Now some of you know me, some of you don't. Now I've been teaching on and off for about 25 years. I had my first teaching job when I was 21 years old. So I've been teaching on and off since I was about 25 years. And in between, I make movies, I write books, and I write magazine articles. Today we're going to be talking about this. We're going to be talking about a global world. Now, I know a lot of you maybe are not planning to be movie stars. But you can be. But that's not so important. What's important is that we learn to function in a global world, and we learn to get along in a global world. Actually, that's not even the important thing. The important thing is that we learn how to make money in a global world. All right, so that's what we're going to talk about today. The first thing I want to talk about is your skill set. Where does your skill set come from? It comes from your studies. Now, you have one big advantage over other students who study business.
English.
You can speak English. All right. So the first competency, when we talk about global world, the first competency that we talk about is language skills, and you have that. Now, in my life, I've got to do many exciting things. I write magazine articles, books, I get to do movies, I get to fight in a cage, I get to do all these things. But you know where it all started? My education. If I did not have advanced degrees, if I did not speak languages, I would never have the opportunities that I've had. So I want you to remember that. It's good to have this. You've got to have this too. All right, now, first of all, global world. Take a look at this picture here. Who can guess where was this picture taken?
Iran.
China?
Thailand.
Thailand? India? Asia? Let's guess. All right. I'm not going to tell you. Oh, and those of you who've been in my class, you know I never answer questions.
Hi, I'm Robert Klein, and this is The Art of Fighting. In today's show, I'm teaming up with the legendary Antonio Graceffo, author of The Monk from Brooklyn and host of the show Martial Arts Odyssey. Antonio is a former stockbroker turned professional fighter, fight ethnographer, linguistics scholar, and Southeast Asian martial arts expert. Antonio and I are going to check out one of the world's truly nasty and effective martial arts, Muay Thai Chaya, a kung fu-like Southern Thai fighting style that has had a great influence on the making of the sport Muay Thai. Muay Thai Chaya is not a sport. It is designed to cripple and destroy opponents. Today we're hanging out with Antonio Graceffo of the show Martial Arts Odyssey. Antonio is a martial arts adventurer who has spent the last 9 years studying cool Asian languages and even cooler Asian martial arts. He has been an expert advisor on Fight Quest, Human Weapon, and just about every other fight show. He is also an author who has written about 6 books and hundreds of articles on martial arts. Today, Antonio is taking us to check out a really cool Thai martial art called Muay Thai Chaya.
Who can guess where was that video shot? What country?
Thailand.
Thailand. Okay. The martial art in that video was called Muay Thai Chaya. And this is an ancient form of Thai fighting style. And even in Thailand, not many people know about it. So there's only 2 masters who are still alive. So the voice that you heard, the documentary maker, he's American, and he was working in Japan. He came to Thailand to make a documentary about Muay Thai Chaya, and then asked me to work in the documentary. In the documentary, I work as a writer, as a translator, and as a fighter. So when we have a variety of skills, whether it's in business or any field you're in, you have a variety of skills, you have more chances to get interesting work to do. All right, this is Kru Lek, and he's the teacher for the Muay Thai Chaya. And if you look here, he's not doing Muay Thai. What's he doing? He's painting. He's an expert painter, and he's also a master of puppets. You know the puppets? Yeah, he's a puppet master. And again, almost all the modern puppet masters have died, but he's keeping the art alive. There we go. And actually, he's not he doesn't know how to perform the puppets. He makes the puppets. And his grandfather made puppets, and his great-grandfather for 1,000 years or something like this. So when I started going around the world making these martial arts movies and things, I started realizing there was more than just the fighting. It was also to preserve the culture and to share the culture. And now you're all young people in China, and you just learned a little something about ancient Thailand. And there's Thai children, or not children, but young people like yourselves, university students, who also don't know about this. So that's why we made these videos. Okay, I started fighting when I was 12 years old, back in America, and I learned boxing and kickboxing. And I continued fighting. I was in the Army. I had like 45 boxing fights when I was in the Army, and I had some professional boxing fights and all of that. 2001, I was an investment banker in New York City, and in 2001, what happened in New York City in 2001? Yeah. Now, if you ever have a dream, you dream about doing something, you think about doing something, wow, someday I want to do this, someday I want to do this. When your city explodes, you suddenly realize maybe someday will never come. And when I realized that, I thought, okay, it's time for me to go. So I went to China to study Chinese language, and then went up to the Shaolin Temple, and I trained in the Shaolin Temple. And I wrote a book about it. My home in New York is called Brooklyn. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. And so when I was in Shaolin, they called me the monk from Brooklyn. So that's where my nickname came from. And the title for my first book, so it all worked out.